Are you tired of feeling disconnected or stuck, waiting for life to improve on its own? Are you waiting around for someone else to make your life better? What if the real breakthrough starts with you? The real question is, are you humble? Do you even know how to be humble? Do you know what humility is? Today, I want to talk about these powerful qualities that can transform not just our lives, but our entire society. Humility, authentic connection, and a shared sense of purpose. Humility is the quality of recognizing and accepting our limitations, faults, and strengths without arrogance or pretense. It involves an honest self-assessment, openness to learning from others, and respect for different perspectives. Humility is not self-deprecation, but rather a balanced and realistic understanding of yourself in relation to others in the world. Great leaders and innovators are often those who listen, admit mistakes, and keep learning. Those qualities help reduce conflict and builds trust. It's essential for growth and learning, being open to feedback, seeing value in others' perspectives. When you make an error at work or in a relationship, openly acknowledge it rather than shifting blame or making excuses. For example, if you gave someone incorrect information, properly correct it and apologize. We all make mistakes. Believe me, there is much, much more to learn in this world than I will ever know. I love to pick other people's brains. I pepper people with questions like, what do you think about this? Why does it do that? How come it looks like that? Oh, yeah, if I start with, can I pick your brain about something? The amount of information you learn is fascinating. Some of the best information you can learn is their mistakes. They often volunteer, why not to do it this way? Or don't do it this because that is the most valuable information you can get. Admitting your mistakes often empowers others to admit to the same mistake in their life. Both of you benefit. Actively ask colleagues, friends, or mentors for honest feedback about your performance or behavior and listen without becoming defensive. This openness demonstrates a willingness to grow and learn. When you're working on a group project, highlight the contributions of others instead of focusing only on your own role. For instance, publicly thanking teammates for their help after a successful outcome not only makes them look good, but makes others more willing to work with you. Even if you're knowledgeable in a subject, be receptive to learning from others, regardless of their background or status. You'd be surprised how much others' knowledge could bring new insights you haven't even considered yet. Volunteer your time or resources without seeking praise or acknowledgement. Helping a neighbor with chores without telling others or posting about it online can be super rewarding. Humility is about being grounded, teachable, and respectful, valuing others as much as yourself. Authentic connection is a genuine, honest, and meaningful bond between people by being open, vulnerable, having mutual respect and empathy for others. It involves being your true self, allowing others to do the same, and engaging in interactions that foster trust and understanding without pretense or manipulation. Being authentic, showing your warts, can protect you against loneliness, anxiety, and even physical illness. Who wants to be around a perfect person? During a conversation, give someone your full attention. Listen without interrupting and respond thoughtfully, making the other person feel truly heard and valued. This is one of my biggest faults. Interrupting, I truly work on this, but I get so engrossed in what we're talking about, I yak before the brain kicks in and reminds me to stop and let them answer. Man, openly share your feelings, fears, or doubts with a trusted friend or partner. even when it feels uncomfortable, inviting them to do the same. Genuinely rejoice in someone else's achievements without jealousy or comparison. Strengthen your bond through shared joy. I truly feel joy when someone I know succeeds. It's almost like I succeeded myself. Set aside distractions like your phone while spending time with someone, focusing entirely on the experience and the conversation. It deepens your connection. Authentic connection is about being real, receptive, and present, allowing for true understanding and trust to develop between people. A shared sense of purpose is the collective understanding and commitment among a group of people to pursue a common goal or mission. It unites people through mutual values, motivations, and direction. Humans crave meaning and belonging. Shared purpose brings people together and helps us find meaning. In America, our shared purpose is about freedom. Collectively, we want freedom for ourselves and freedom for the world. Individually, we must exercise that right. Recognize that individually, we have limited power, but together, we can accomplish fantastic outcomes. It starts with one idea and one purpose and one commitment. Take a look around. We've become divided. The sure route to failure is division. We look at every adult or couple being able to afford their own home, their own car, their own everything. Individualism is the goal for Americans. The problem is it's become distorted. The term collectivism has been taken over by communism. We definitely don't want that, but we've taken individualism to extremes. Remember the saying, divide and conquer? Well, that's what's been done to us. This idea has destroyed the family unit. People are so separated that family has little meaning anymore. Family, collectively, can become a powerhouse. Together, they can move mountains. Individually, each can barely get by. Loneliness is a result. People moved to America in groups. It was imperative to move in groups for safety and survival. They formed communities to not only help themselves, but because they understood they needed each other to survive. Together, they could make it. They moved across America in wagon trains, settled in the same area, and individually supported each other. Families worked together, lived together for the same purpose. Freedom, together. Today's generation has that same opportunity. Instead of looking down on a generation that can't afford to live outside their parents' home, look instead at the opportunity they have. Just imagine if all the family pulled together for a common goal, instead of the grandparent having to support himself in one house, his children having to support their families, and the grandchildren being shipped off to daycare. Imagine they lived in one much larger home with shared resources. Each of these individual families have to pay a mortgage, pay utilities, insurance, daycare, etc. But together, they could contribute a smaller portion of their income, lessen their expenses, lessen their time spent on daily chores. Now look if they actually pooled their brain power together. What if they picked a business to work together in? Say, a construction business. One could be the architect or accountant, one the builder, one the electrician, one the plumber. Together they could build a dynasty. Another example could be like a landscaping company. One could be the designer, one the planter, one that grows trees and bushes, one that grows vegetables or fruit, one supplying the landscaping materials, on and on. Individuals working together for a common goal, everyone ends up being successful. When you work just for yourself, it's a hard row to hoe. Find purpose together. Watch the old Dallas or Dynasty shows on TV back in the, I don't know, what was that, 70s, late 70s, maybe early 80s, somewhere in there. See successful families working together. Family dynasties are called that for a reason. Sure, there may be complications and not much privacy, but all of life is about overcoming obstacles. If you live in a bad neighborhood, move with others to a new place. Share your resources to build a new and more prosperous life. Your house, your neighborhood, your town, your state, they're just locations. They're not your identity. The old saying, move west, young man. You guys can do it. A bunch of you young guys could move together and start a new business. Healthy ambition drives innovation, achievement, and progress. It motivates you to set goals and pursue excellence. Genesis 10 through 12 teaches about the origins and unity of humanity, the dangers of pride and the limits of human ambition, the role of diversity, and the beginning of God's redemptive plan through faith and obedience. These chapters encourage humility, trust in God, and a recognition that blessing is meant to be shared with all. Genesis 10, I'll briefly cover this chapter as it's mainly just a genealogy. This chapter lists the descendants of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, after the flood. It details the origins of various nations and peoples. All nations trace their origins to a common ancestry, emphasizing the fundamental unity of the human family, while also explaining the diversity of languages, cultures, and peoples. The genealogy suggests that history unfolds under divine oversight. The spread and settlement of nations are not random, but understood as part of God's plan. To them, knowing one's lineage and place among the nations affirms identity and a sense of belonging. In Genesis 11, humankind, united by one language, attempts to build a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, seeking to make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered. God confounds their language and scatters them over the earth. The Babel story warns against pride, hubris, and self-sufficiency. Humanity's attempt to reach heaven and make a name for themselves is portrayed as overstepping appropriate bounds. The scattering and multiplication of language is depicted as a corrective action, suggesting that diversity among peoples is not a curse, but part of God's design for humanity. The confusion of languages highlights the importance of communication in building community and how its breakdown can lead to fragmentation. Genesis 11, we'll start our reading here. Now the whole earth had the same language and the same words. And it happened as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and they had tar for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build for ourselves a city and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. And let us make for ourselves a name, lest we be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Then the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the sons of men have built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language, and this is what they have begun to do. So now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down, and there confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another's language." So the Lord scattered them from there over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. We'll skip the genealogy from Shem to Abram and Lot. At verse 29, we have Abram taking Sarai for a wife. We'll start again at verse 30. And Sarai was barren. She had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his grandson, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son's Abram's wife. And they went from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and lived there. The days of Terah were 205 years. Terah died in Haran. God calls Abram, later Abraham, to leave his homeland for a new land, promising to make him a great nation, bless him, and make his name great, so that all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. All peoples. Abraham obeys, making the start of the covenant relationship between God and his chosen people. Abram's willingness to trust God's promise and leave everything familiar is a paradigm of faith. Blessing comes through trust and obedience, even when the future is uncertain. The promise to Abram is not just personal prosperity, but a vocation to be a source of blessing for all peoples on earth. This introduces the idea that chosenness comes with a global responsibility. The story shifts from human attempts to reach God, as at Babel, to God reaching out to humanity, initiating a relationship and a redemptive plan. The story moves from the universal scope of all nations, that's chapter 10 and 11, to the particular story of Abram and his descendants from chapter 12 onward. This sets the stage for the story's focus on Israel as a means of blessing the whole world. These chapters reflect on recurring patterns, pride, ambition, fragmentation, and the search for meaning and belonging. Even as humanity is scattered and confused, like at Babel, hope is kindled in the call of Abram, suggesting God's purposes persist and will ultimately unite and bless the nations. Genesis 12 marks a turning point, introducing Abram and God's call to him. The Lord appears to Abram, and the Lord said to Abram, "Go forth from your land, and from your kin, and from your father's house, to the land which I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and make your name great. And so you shall be a blessing, and I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you, I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth will be blessed." So Abram went forth as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. Now Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. So Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions, which they had accumulated, and the persons which they had acquired in Haran. And they departed to go forth to the land of Canaan. Thus they came to the land of Canaan. And Abram passed through the land as far as the site of Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. Now the Canaanite was then in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your seed I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. Then he proceeded from there to the mountain on the east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed on, continuing toward the Negev. Now there was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. And it happened as he drew near to entering Egypt that he said to Sarai his wife, "Now behold, I know that you are a woman, beautiful in appearance. And it will be, when the Egyptians see you, that they will say, 'This is his wife,' and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say that you're my sister, so that it may go well with me, because of you, that I may live on account of you." Now it happened when Abram came into Egypt that the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful, and Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. Therefore he treated Abram well because of her, and sheep and oxen and donkeys, and the male and female servants, and female donkeys and camels came into his possession. But the Lord struck Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Then Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for myself as a wife? So now, here's your wife. Take her and go." So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that belonged to him. Many people interpret God's choice of Abram and his descendants as a form of exclusive favoritism. God picking one person or nation to bless at the expense of others. The promise, "I will bless you, and you will be a blessing, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you," is often read narrowly, focusing on personal or national privilege and prosperity. The true thrust of the text is not exclusivity, but responsibility. God's election of Abram is not for his own sake alone, but to become a conduit of blessing to all nations. The chosenness is missional. Abram and later Israel is chosen to serve, to be an example, and to mediate God's blessing to the world. The blessing is ultimately outward facing and universal in scope. The text, properly understood, calls for humility, service, and global concern. Abram's response to God's call is an act of radical trust. He leaves behind security and familiarity to embrace an unknown future based on God's promise. True faith involves stepping into uncertainty, risking comfort, and aligning your life purpose with something greater than personal gain. The story invites each of us to listen for and respond to our own calls, to live with faith, openness, and a willingness to bless others beyond ourselves. It challenges faith communities to avoid insularity and instead become sources of blessings, justice, and compassion for the broader world. In a world often divided by identity, nationalism, or tribal groups, Genesis 12's true meaning is a challenge to see our privileges and opportunities as means to serve the common good. Genesis 12 is not about being chosen for privilege, but chosen for purpose, to trust, to go, and to become a blessing to the whole world. The best lesson is to embrace faith that moves us outward to serve, uplift, and unite rather than divide. Here are some concrete ways to recognize and respond to your own calls. A call to service in your community. You notice a reoccurring concern in your neighborhood, maybe loneliness among the elderly, litter in public spaces, or a lack of youth activities. You feel a personal tug or discomfort when you see these needs. You could organize or join a local volunteer group, food drive, or mentorship program. Even small steps like checking in on a neighbor or picking up trash can be a response to such a call. A call to use your unique gifts. You realize you have a particular talent, teaching, music, writing, organizing, but you've mostly just used it for your personal gain or pleasure. People encourage you to share your skills, or you feel most alive when using them to help others. You could offer skills pro bono, like tutoring, performing at community events, helping a nonprofit with their website, or start a blog, class, or workshop to inspire or educate others. A call to pursue a new direction. You experience restlessness or a sense that your current path doesn't align with your values or the needs you see in the world. Opportunities or ideas keep presenting themselves, even if they seem risky or unconventional. You could take steps toward a career change, further education, or launching a new initiative. This might mean starting small, enrolling in a class, volunteering in a new field, or networking with people doing what inspires you. A call to reconcile or forgive. You feel a persistent nudge to mend a broken relationship or let go of resentment. You're reminded of a person or situation whenever you reflect on your spiritual or emotional health. You could reach out to that person, seek forgiveness, or offer reconciliation. Or even if full restoration isn't possible, taking the initiative to make peace is a powerful response. A call to speak up or advocate. You witness injustice or harmful behavior at work, school, or in your community. Your conscience is troubled when you stay silent. You could use your voice, write, protest, support those affected, or raise awareness, or just join a support group working for justice or healing. A call to spiritual growth or deeper purpose. You sense a longing for deeper meaning or connection with God. You're drawn to spiritual practices, communities, or readings that nurture your soul. You could commit to regular prayer, studying the Bible, or joining a faith community. Pay attention to what moves you emotionally: joy, anger, compassion, or even discomfort. Notice repeated opportunities, invitations, or coincidences that point to a particular direction. Reflect, pray, or meditate regularly to create space for your inner voice to emerge. Ask trusted friends, mentors, or community members for feedback about your strengths and opportunities they could see for you. Listening to your call is about noticing where your deep concerns, abilities, and opportunities meet the world's needs. Responding requires courage to step out, sometimes in small ways, sometimes in big ones, just as Abram did. What's one thing you could do this week to build more humility, connection, or purpose into your life? Share those ideas in the comments. Maybe it could help others. I'm Merrill, and this is Battlegram. Please subscribe and share if you received any value from this podcast. Please join me for the next episode.